midlife crisis is more than just a cultural stereotype. It's a real psychological struggle that can surface between the ages of 40 and 60. Often triggered by aging, loss, or unmet expectations, it can actually lead individuals to question their identity, make impulsive choices, or abruptly abandon long term commitments. While not officially classified yet as a mental illness, the emotional and relational fallout is very real, especially for the spouses and families left behind. This podcast gives voice to those living through the aftermath, exposing the hidden pain and seeking accountability, healing, and understanding. Thank you for joining us today on MLC Bomb Drop and Beyond. The stories and events discussed in this podcast are for informational and entertainment purposes only and should not be considered legal, medical, or professional advice. Any names, locations, or identifying details have been changed to protect privacy. Any similarities to actual persons, living or dead, or real events are purely coincidental. The information presented on this podcast is for informational purposes only and should not be considered as professional advice. Always consult with a qualified expert regarding any decisions related to your specific situation. The views expressed by guests are their own and do not necessarily reflect the opinions of the host or the podcast creators. Hey, Bomb Squad. So today, this is part 2 of our Jenny's story. This is where she's going to share her Godwink with us. And so thanks for joining us today on part 2. Sometimes songs don't just speak to us, but they find us. And when they do, they feel like more than just music. They feel like maybe a message. And as we're going to see today, Jenny believes that Chris Stapleton song titled Starting Over, she thinks that song was a Godwink for her. A perfectly timed nudge from above, a spiritual reassurance that even after years of silence, heartbreak, or waiting, that there's still a chance to begin again. And honestly, I believe that too, because when a song hits you like that, it's not random. It's sacred. It's personal. It's a wink from God that says, I see you. Keep going. This new beginning, it's real. It could be a message from above that says, yes, this is hard. Yes, it's taken time, but you're not forgotten and you're not alone. There's still a chance to begin again. And whether you believe in signs, prayer, or just soul deep intuition, sometimes a song is the message. Sometimes we think starting over means walking away, burning bridges, going no contact, or rebuilding alone. But for some of you listening today, starting over means something else entirely. It means reconciliation. It means daring to believe that even after betrayal, silence, and years apart, something sacred might still be waiting for both of you on the other side. And when Chris Stapleton sings those words, he's not just talking about geography, he's talking about possibility. If you're hoping for reconciliation with a partner who had an affair, who went through a midlife spiral and left you standing in the ruins, you know how hard it is to even let yourself hope. And yet, here you are, still standing, still open, still believing that maybe, just maybe, starting over together could be real. And man, this lyric cuts to the soul. It reminds us it's not about the house you lost. It's not about the years that were taken. It's about the heart beside you. And if your spouse is slowly waking up, maybe showing remorse, curiosity, emotional return, this lyric becomes a quiet anthem of forgiveness. You're not asking for perfection. You're asking for presence. You're saying, "Oh, I'd rather be with the true version of you now than cling to the illusion from before." So now we're going to go back to Jenny's Godwink story. Thanks for joining us today. Here we go.
Chris Stapleton is the singer, and Starting Over is the song.
I love that song, and I
Okay, good, you know it. So, well, for everybody else, I will just say it's a song about a husband and a wife. Not a broken up thing, not a back together. It's a husband and a wife who are going to go to a different place, a different town, and they're going to start over. But within the song, it talks about one will be the lucky penny and the other will be four-leaf clover. And my husband, myself, and our oldest daughter went to a concert 3 years ago. He really didn't want me to be there, but it was after an event with our youngest daughter. So either I had to go with them or they couldn't go at all. So that's why I was there. And so that's when I heard this song for the first time, and it really resonated with me. So I listened to it till I knew the words, and I'm like, oh, I'm going to get a lucky penny and I'm going to get a four-leaf clover and I'm going to put him in my dresser and I'm going to keep him there until he comes home. And it just really meant a lot to me. And I did it. I put him in my dresser. My husband did come home one time since then, but I was like, this doesn't feel right. They're just staying in my dresser. And then maybe a year ago, it got really bad. And I thought we were done again. And, you go kind of crazy and you're talking to God a lot and just super, super depressed. And I was going to a local store to return something and I walked in and the song was playing. And it's like, oh, okay, well, that's like a good memory, but also making me feel really sad at the same time. And I left and I had to go to a meeting at a local restaurant like 45 minutes later. We're talking through things at the meeting, and I'm like to the table. I'm like, they're like, what? I'm like, I need to hear this song. And they're like, we don't hear any music. And I'm like, just, and so softly was the song again. I've never heard this song in public ever. And I heard it twice that day. And remember, I have this stuff at home. So it has huge meaning to me. And I'm like, okay, that's pretty big. Thanks for showing me that, God. It's gonna work. And then maybe, I don't know, a couple months later, I was talking to my husband on the phone and he was in a pretty bad place. And I was concerned. And I can't remember. He's not a hang up on me kind of person, but something happened. We got off the phone and I drove to his office. I wanted to be sure he was at his office. I wanted to be sure nothing was happening. So he didn't know I was coming. I walked into his office and that song was playing on his computer. So I walked in and my mouth was just like open. And he's talking. He's like, "Oh, it's so nice of you to come." And he like comes to give me a hug and stuff. And I'm still like staring. I'm like, I can't believe that song's playing. He's like, "Oh yeah, just," I said, did you put that there? He's like, "No, it just came on." I'm like, "Okay." I said, "I think I'm supposed to tell you about this song." So I told him about, the other things and the things that I have in my dresser, and he's got very emotional, and it meant a lot to him too. And okay, so he's fine, and I got our youngest daughter. We went to the same restaurant I was at for that meeting 45 minutes later, and I heard the song there again. So 2 times that day. And then few months later, the 3 of us are out Christmas shopping, and the youngest daughter says, "Mom, your song's playing." And I'm like, "Oh, okay." I'm like, "Oh, it doesn't mean anything this time because, I'm not in a terrible place." And I'm like, "Wait a second. We're all in the same building." And it's like, "Okay, let's go find Dad." And we're looking down the aisles until we see him at the end, and he's got this weird look on his face. And so I walk up to him and I'm like, "So what's the look on your face?" And he just like points up at the speakers and gets a little tear. So he had recognized it too. And he like gives me this big hug and it's like, okay. And I haven't heard it since. Those are the only 5 times I have heard that song,
Wow.
either in huge distress. twice in 2 days, huge distress, or that day that the three of us were together. Yeah. So I go back to that and back to that and back to that. That's not a coincidence. It's yes, it's
And
gonna work out. It just that tells me that it's going to work out.
mhm.
Yeah. So
Wow. Well, Jenny, I'm really encouraged by, I think, all it's yeah, the fact that he's coming forward in so many ways is really great.
it's just so slow and it is long and it is hard. No doubt. No doubt. But
Are there other things that you do for self-care? Is there anything that you do that has
that
helped?
I do, oh, like I said, I'm terrible. I am terrible at it. Um, I number one on my self-care list is to have a Coke. I'm sorry to say. And I'm not a person that drinks 6 Cokes in a day, but a McDonald's Coke is like, ah, heaven for me on a hard day, sadly. But I I do like things like spending a day at the pool. That's just really relaxing for me. But I have long, hectic days and I have a hard time keeping up. This is a hard work season for me as well,
Because you've got,
which
as a
kind
business
of
owner, you've got a lot on
yeah,
your in going on
yes,
in your
and,
head.
staffing is really hard for everybody everywhere right now. I'm kind of thankful for that because it keeps my brain busy in other places, but it does not leave a lot of space for self-care, which I could also you could say you gotta make time for self-care. I think I need to maybe recognize some of the smaller things that are self-care also. Sitting here and doing this is self-care, and maybe you wouldn't normally check that off on your self-care list.
Yeah, and
But
you know what? I'm drinking a Diet Pepsi, so maybe that
there you
sort of
go.
helps,
Yeah,
put 25% towards your self-care
good
today.
for you. Yes, you're doing it. That's good.
And are you home by yourself? Are you sort of empty nester kind of thing?
I am home by myself, and I do hate that a lot. Like I said, we're out in the country. I don't know if it would feel any different living in town, like if you had neighbors and stuff. I never really even had that, but I do hate just the empty house, the silence. That saying, "Silence is so loud." That is so real. And, when my husband is there and then he goes to leave, that is just, you turn around and go back into the empty house. And I don't like cooking for one person. I do not like you wanna know about my resentment? I do not like taking care of our yard. I do not like figuring out how to fix things. I do not like those things left on me. That is a place that he has just sort of not necessarily washed his hands of, because if I ask and ask and ask, he will do them and he's capable. I could call somebody to do them, I'm sure. It's just the fact that it's left to me, and I don't like that part. So every time I go to the yard, then I am resentful for sure. Yeah. But then he'll come and he'll say, "Oh, the yard looks so nice." And I'll say, between my teeth, I'll say, "Thank you." Not saying all the rest of that stuff. Yeah. Thank you for noticing.
Yeah,
Mhm.
well, it was probably a lot that he handled before and maybe
Yeah,
now you know what goes
I
into it.
enjoy mowing the yard, and I did it a lot, but there's all the extra stuff that, after a while, all the weeds and the stuff encroaches, and like I said, all the stuff that has to be fixed that is not my thing. To ride the mower around a little bit, that's easy. All the rest of the stuff, not so much. Be nice to have help. Or when he does show up at the house, he'll say, "Oh, we need to do this, and we need to do this, and we need to do this." And it's like, "Mhm.
So he's using the "we."
Yes. Oh, that's a thing." Um, So again, that Virgo thing, I very much analyze his pronouns, and other people will say, "Oh, you're just wasting time on all of that stuff," but no. His his words he chooses very carefully. He absolutely does. So, for sure, there are times when it is "we," and there are times when it is just very generic. Like, it could be "our house" or "the house."
Mhm.
It could be, you know, "the tractor," "our tractor." It's like, really? It's never been our tractor. Tractors aren't mine, you know? Yeah. So when he says "our tractor," I know he's really going out of his way to want to be inclusive. Yeah.
Yeah, that pronoun thing is such a thing. I remember before in my situation, before bomb drop, my husband, I'm a realtor, and a few months before like, I often am working weekends, and, a few months before bomb drop, maybe 6 months or so, he started saying stuff like, "Well, what are you doing this weekend? What are you doing?" And typically, it would always be, "Oh, what do you wanna do? Like, what do you wanna do? What are we doing
Mhm,
together?" And all of
mhm.
a sudden and I called him out on it. It would, like, really shock me when he said, what are you doing?" The way he said it, it was clearly not we are doing something together, and
Yes.
I really noticed that big time because it was so
Yep.
different, and I was
Yes.
so offended, and I even said, like, "What do you mean? What am I doing? I don't know. What do you wanna do? Where should we go?" That kinda thing, and again, he would try to separate it, sort of.
Yeah. I I can't remember, you listen to so many things, but there's definitely some people out there that say that it doesn't mean anything, and I firmly believe like you do that it does.
Oh, yeah.
It absolutely does. It doesn't just fall out of their mouth one way or the other. It's thought through.
I think during MLC, nothing falls out of their mouth. It's like, very, the way you describe with the angel and the devil thing,
Yeah.
they it's very, uh, oh, thought out or not robotic, but
It's yeah, and calculated is kind of a big word too, but
calculated. Yeah.
so
I guess because they just don't
my
wanna
husband
have
would sorry,
feel confused, or I guess they don't want things to be misinterpreted, maybe?
maybe, maybe. He would My husband would say you talk about the confusion and stuff. My husband would say that he could feel one thing he'll say he doesn't trust himself, to make any decisions. He'll say he could feel one thing at night when he goes to bed and feel the opposite in the morning when he got up. He can't hold it. He cannot hold whatever the feelings are that he's having. And you can look at that and go, that is just absolutely ridiculous. But it seems to be absolutely true and real. Um, I can see it. I I can see it in his face. I can see it in his actions when he is so distraught. People like to say, "Oh, he just wants his cake and eat it too." I get that, and I'm not saying there isn't some of that, and some are different. So I'm talking about mine. That he is not out to, "Ooh, cool. I still have my wife and my home and my all of this, and I can also have this on the side." My husband is a mess inside, and he is really fighting to figure out how to get out of it, and he
Like you
can't.
said, honorable.
Yeah, he wants to be honorable. Mhm. He actually wrote a letter to all of us, both our daughters and myself. This is probably a couple years ago now, and he didn't refer to honorable, but he referred to his morals and um like again similar, finding him in places that went against his personal morals. And he said that to his girls. He
Wow.
admitted that to his girls, which I thought was a big deal. And then he turns around, and it could literally be 2 days later, and he's right back against his morals, and it's like, you would wanna say, "Well, that is a joke," that you would say that one day, and then you're doing it the next day. That's a joke. That's ridiculous, but I believe it's true.
Yep. I
I
know.
believe it's
It
true.
sounds like from the ones we've talked to, they can see what they're doing, but can't stop it, can't control
Yeah,
it, you know?
yeah.
And that I can't imagine living like that. That must be so horrible, you know?
Oh, to be in their head? No.
Mhm.
It's horrible to be us,
Mhm.
but, I know what I want. I'm trying to get from here to there. That's it. You know, for them to be back and forth and in and out and up and down and not know, like, I know one thing when I go to bed and then I wake up and it's a different thing. That
Yeah.
has to be awful, which is why sometimes I get concerned and I just want to be sure that he's okay, because it's
Can you
got to
tell
be.
that he's depressed?
Yes.
Yeah, okay. Is that why you went over to
And he admits it now too.
mm.
Mhm. Very much so.
Is he on medication?
Ugh, no, that's a whole 'nother story. You're not supposed to tell him what to do or suggest things, but yet I did a long time ago. Um, I take stuff, almost everybody does now. I would call mine my little chill pill that I actually started taking long, long time ago when our kids were younger, and I kinda joked that I took it so I didn't go home and eat my children like animals, eat my young, I think, at a time when it was hard. And then I, quit taking it and started again with this whole deal. So, I guess my point in that is that he knows it works. He knows that it helps. And so I did suggest it in relevance to myself, and we talked about it. We talked about it a lot, and then nothing, and it's fine. I mean, months, 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 months. And of course, there's the man card and all those kinds of things. And then he did talk to one or two of his friends, and he told me, it's like, okay, cool, awesome. And then he actually talked to, we have the same doctor. And so he talked to the doctor about it, and I'm like, "Oh, this is awesome." And the doctor said, "Oh, you don't need that. You just need to make a decision." And I could have strangled. I left that doctor. I have a new doctor, and through the process of getting set up with a new physician or whatnot, said, well, she could see, the one I used to go to, and she's like, "Oh, how did you feel about that guy?" Kind of. And I said my husband was still there. I told her what happened, and she's like, "Oh, no, I have such great success with men, and this is what I would give him, and you need to tell him to come here, and da 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 da." So again, when the right time came, I did tell him that I switched doctors. He knew I was going to, because he knew that I wasn't happy for some other reasons too. So I have to wait for the moment. I couldn't leave the doctor, run home, pick up the phone, whatever, and say, "Hey, this happened. I can't wait to tell you." I have to wait for the right moment to tell him, that I had this conversation and whatnot. And what he said was the next time he needs to go to the doctor, he will go to this new person.
Oh, good. That's
So,
good.
I'm really hoping, because I feel like it could help,
Mhm.
definitely. But can you believe that? You don't need that. You just need to make a decision.
Yeah, I can't sadly, Jenny, yes, we can believe that
Oh,
because,
I know.
sadly, there's a lot of therapists out there that would say the same thing too, it's really sad because that's not that's not remotely the situation, you know?
No, and I've been working so hard to get it to be something that was his idea
Right.
and acceptable, and that guy burned it down in 10 words. but
Well,
at
hopefully
least
not. You know what?
at
It
least he's still open to it, yeah. It's just more time passing, more time, more time, more time.
sounds to me like your husband knows the decision he needs to make. Like, there is no making decisions. He just needs to, really get better so he can come home and and resume his normal life.
I feel like I see that. Our youngest daughter sees that. Some other people see that, but he doesn't realize it.
Yeah. And it takes a while,
Yeah. Apparently.
hence the 5 years.
Yes. Hence the 5 years. Mhm.
Well, thank you so much for joining us today and telling us your story and for all
Yeah.
the tips. I've got the stages, devastation and shock, window sticker stage,
Yeah.
the working on self stage, and then him noticing how you change stage and how
Mhm.
you've both grown and really grown, I think.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm super thankful that he has gotten to the point to be figuring some things out about himself. That's whatever that turns out to be, that has been something as long as I've known him that I knew there was some stuff there
Mhm.
that, I'll just give you a little tiny thing that his mom has been married 7 times.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So you just know there's gotta be some issues there.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Wow. Well, he is so lucky to have you as a loving, standing wife,
Aw.
working on herself. Um, you know,
Thank you.
in working on herself, I'm just gonna say working on yourself. I sort of hate that term, but I gotta rephrase it to not working on yourself, but
Because it implies that there's something
Improving
wrong, right?
some of your communication skills in order to speak his language on a little better.
Improving. What about
Yeah,
improving yourself?
yeah,
Maybe
because it's
that's good.
almost like, he speaks a certain language and you're trying to, so that so as not to offend his language sensibilities,
Yeah.
And that's tough, A lot of people would just say, "Oh, screw it," that, I'm not gonna if they can't understand how I speak, you know, but
Well, I think that's one of the main things that I was figuring out right away. You've got the men are from Mars and women are from Venus, whatever that is. But to really understand how different, like literally, we speak and it goes through some do 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 and comes out differently into their head. It's kind of crazy.
it
Like
is.
how have we managed as men and women for all these years when we really don't understand each other?
Mhm.
Crazy.
Wow. That is true. Well, I'm very encouraged by your story, and I hope you'll, definitely keep us updated. I have a feeling,
Yeah.
you know,
Yes,
you're
yes.
probably closer to reconciliation than a lot of our recent guests.
Trina, I really hope so, but also I feel like I felt that for a long time. It is literally baby steps, tiny little baby steps, but I hope you're right. I hope you're right.
Alright. Well, thank you,
Thank
Jenny.
you. It was very fun.
Alright.
Yeah. Thanks much.
Thank you. Well, I hope you guys enjoyed hearing from Jenny today. And just remember, you're not just picking up where you left off. That version of your marriage is gone, and honestly, it probably needed to be. Because what you're creating now, if you do reconcile, is going to be deeper, more honest, more vulnerable, and it's going to be built on shared pain, not fantasy. And that's why that song, Starting Over, hits so hard because it acknowledges the storm and it still chooses hope. It might be storming now, but it's going to be a beautiful day. If you're walking through reconciliation after years of betrayal, confusion, or silence, know this. Know that you are not naive for believing in healing. You are not weak for loving someone who was once lost. You are brave, you are discerning, and you are allowed to want something redemptive to come out of all this pain. Maybe your version of starting over isn't walking away. Maybe it's walking back toward each other with open eyes, clear hearts, and nothing left to hide. I'm Trina Laird, and this is MLC Bomb Drop and Beyond. Thanks for joining us today. See you again soon. You guys, forward moving spouses, you are not alone. Left behind spouses, you are not alone. Those in crisis, you are certainly not alone. This is just crazy how epidemic this has become. I have a waiting list now of people from around the world that I'm trying to get to. And if you've been through a midlife crisis or been impacted by someone else's and you want to share your story, I'd love to hear from you. Hang in there, you guys. I will get to all of you. Please reach out to me at mlcbombdrop@gmail.com and visit us on Facebook and Instagram, MLC Bomb Drop. And just remember, your voice matters. Your story could be the one that helps someone else feel seen. It could help someone else feel heard. And it will help somebody else feel understood. You are not alone, no matter where you are in your journey. If the bomb was just dropped, the earthquake just happened, if you are 7 or 8 years in and you're coming out of starting to wake up and awaken to this, you are not alone. It's sad that this is epidemic, but we're here to provide support. So until next time, take care and live authentically each and every day. Thanks again, you guys.